It is 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting in order. Can I get a motion to declare this an open meeting?
I move to declare this an open meeting.
Second. Motion by Mary, second by JW. All who are not here. Corey?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW?
Yes.
Sorry. I was reading Kuster and I was like, not what I'm saying. We welcome the visitors.
I'll answer for that.
We welcome the visitors to the meeting tonight. As per the law, the Board of Education does adhere to the Opens Meeting Act, and a copy of that act is posted on the wall to my right. This meeting has been properly advertised according to the policy and the Nebraska Opens Meeting Act. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
This is it.
Bless you.
Motion by Mary, second by Hope. Is there any discussion?
I don't have any.
Mary?
No.
Gentlemen?
Nope.
All right, hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and go with Corey, or yes, Corey.
Yes.
Hope,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jason, yes, JW,
Yes.
and Bobby is. Public comment or correspondence? Mr. Farabee, got anything for us?
No.
No? All right. Committee reports.
Don't really have anything here. I think we'll talk about policy when we get to that.
All right. So then that moves us to the counselor's report.
So, of course, Lisa and Derek are both at the same function. It sounds like the girls won their first match, and so they'll play again. I printed Derek's report and I forgot to bring it into the computer. Maybe sitting on it. So, Mrs. Blecka's report is in the packet. Maybe just take shy of me reading through it, just maybe take 30 seconds or so to skim through it and see if there's any questions I could potentially help with. Maybe just a commentary, a lot of college visits, a commentary on that. I know sometimes the classroom teachers aren't always excited about kids missing so much class for college visits, but that was from the strategic planning. That was a comment I know I heard once or twice, was how parents really appreciate those opportunities. Their kids have to go and have those exposures to those sort of things. In high school, I think that's something that we probably do very good, is getting our kids exposure to a lot of post-secondary opportunities. We of course have our Apply to College Day coming up this Thursday. A lot of it continues to grow. As a parent of my first senior, I'll look forward to having that afternoon session where we can talk through the FAFSA and some of those things.
I like that Lisa is also, aware that not all of our kids are going to college, which is perfectly fine. And she invited, she reached out to me about doing something for those, but I have another commitment that day. So she did contact Trevor Kuhlman, is going to come with his drones and talk to the kids, because the ones that aren't going to college want to stay and farm and things, but how drones and agriculture is such a huge thing, and how they could get their certification for that. So they're still, thinking of their future, without sitting through, the college type stuff. It's still a valuable thing for their day. So she's been very good about trying to meet all the needs of our seniors.
I think being married to someone who works in a vocational field, you know, and has got a lot of hands-on type of experience. I think probably does do her a little advantage there, you know, just, you know, where Ben had worked in as a mechanic and now at the Department of Labor, just having that firsthand is valuable. But yeah, that's something we talk about a lot is especially those are the kids that will be in our community potentially for the rest of their lives, where that's potentially a little less likely for our kids that go on a more traditional college track. And then I just, Steph just handed out Mr. Niss's report.
This blacksmithing class featured, is that a different interview than what?
I think he was just pointing to the interview that was on.
Do they have one or two?
I thought it was just one.
Okay. Okay. I don't remember what the call numbers were before. I just remember listening to them.
And then for mine, I don't have a lot either. I'll go ahead and touch on it briefly. I've got numbers for parent-teacher conferences. All parent-teacher conferences there. Our enrollment is 266. I think that's up for a student or two from last month, so that's good. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the ELA acceleration. Again, that's the work we're doing for we're doing it for math and English both, but that's the work we're doing specifically focusing on providing the support to our teachers to implement our our ELA curriculum as effectively as possible. And as part of that, issue 4 was able to bring in instruction partners, which is the group that kind of led us through the math process. And, well, they did lead us through the math process. And we haven't been able to bring them in for the English language arts component. Issue 4 used Title IIA funds to pay for them to spend a day here, where they worked with our elementary and elementary teachers as well as our secondary ELA teachers. And then some of the Sterling teachers were here. And then the second day they were at Sterling, and Mr. Niss, Mrs. Pierce, and I were up there trying to just soak in as much as possible to kind of help us in the process of leading this. And that was a nice opportunity to have. And the idea was then that training would be utilized from the teaching and learning staff for issue 4, and then they could bring it out. The knowledge that they acquired through that process could be brought out to all the other schools in the Title IIA consortium. Just moving on to building and grounds and transportation, I guess a couple things that aren't written down here. What the minibus showed up, so we have it. It's parked around back. You've probably seen it. And at some point, we're going to reshuffle things in the bus barn when Todd and Rodney have a little more time, and so it'll probably not sit outside all the time, but that's where it's at to begin with, and it's going to make its maiden voyage tomorrow, is what I believe. We kind of missed out on that first wave of high demand for use, so it's gonna make its maiden voyage with students tomorrow. So that's kind of neat. We did something else I didn't think to put on here. We did have our first bed bug sweep of the fall. They were here. We actually had some concerns in an elementary classroom that we identified, and so tried to get them here as quick as possible. James with what is it? K9 something. Anyway, K9 bed bug, I think. And so he was here. The earliest he could get here was this past Tuesday, and went ahead and had him check all the rooms. And we also treated. It's the first time we've done that, but preventative. It's a soy-based substance. It's not harmful at all to humans, but it's supposed to be lethal to the touch for the bed bugs. So just to do what we can to prevent them from spreading. We still, if you walk down our hallways, for example, in the elementary, we spread our coats out, we spread our bags out. We just want to do everything we can to help make sure that the school isn't a hitchhike location for the little critters. And then Greg Cole was here. Of course, our last meeting, we approved to have him do the needs assessment for our HVAC. So he was here on October 3rd, and he met with Mr. Nis, Todd Lytle, and myself. We spent about a half a day with him, kind of just going over everything we knew and digging up every blueprint and every bit of information we could to give him. And then we did a walk through he got his eyes on all of the different HVAC equipment that we have in the district. At this point, it was just mostly information gathering on his behalf, but he talked about some things. For example, he said something pertaining to the VRF that I hadn't heard before, where he talks about how one of the ways that he likes to utilize or prevent them from wearing out so fast is by having another source of backup heat. Then they don't have to be rated near as high, and so anytime it gets below a certain temperature outside, maybe 40 degrees, for example, then the VRF kicks off and you're using the other heat as your primary source, which would be our new boiler system potentially, which is not the way that our system currently works. That primarily was always been set up to be a backup heat and only kick on when the heat goes off or when we get down to a really low temperature. And by doing, so I don't know where but that was kind of a one bit of information that came out of it just through our conversations that was new to me. Everything I've ever been told is, you want to use those as your primary heat. But he said, because the VRF is if it's rated as your primary heat, it has to work so hard in the wintertime. Whereas in the summer, it really is a little overrated. It's rated high for summer, whereas historically you think the summer is when they have to work the hardest. But since they're using the same equipment just in reverse for the same technology in reverse for heating and cooling, if you run it, what it's rated for is not running at full capacity in the hot months. When it gets really cold outside, those things are screaming, to use his words, and that takes its toll on it. Whether our 9-year-old Samsung cassettes can be salvaged, I don't know. His hope was to get that report done by the end of November. I've tentatively invited him to our December board meeting and also to our December strategic planning meeting. And we'll kind of see if that's something we want to do. But I sent him we talked about it, and then I sent him the invite so he at least would have those on his calendar if that's something we decide we want to do. So hopefully we'll have something in front of us to look at and to maybe make some decisions moving forward by the end of the calendar year. And that's pretty much all I have for my report. Any questions on any of it?
All right, we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the policies. For review, 4042 employee social security numbers, 4043 professional boundaries and appropriate relationship between employee and students, 4045 self-expression. And then 2 for review and revision, 4041 staff dress and appearance, 4044 political activity by staff members.
So maybe before we get a motion here, would it be appropriate,
I believe so.
Jason, if so it was really a pretty concise review, I thought, this month, and just so everyone is aware, Corey was part of, he was added to that kind of to fill Lisa's role, and so Corey, it involved Hope and Bobby and Corey reviewing these policies, and I think it was pretty concise, other than there was the question about a couple issues on staff dress and appearance, policy 4041. We've got some language in there, kind of 2 of the issues that surfaced. One of them initially was the question, should we address what is and isn't appropriate for staff wearing leggings? I think we primarily mean our female staff members, but At the advice of the attorneys, we shouldn't probably be specific, just refer to leggings. And then the other one was piercings, and specific to piercings, this one is, this was an oversight on my behalf. Before we reviewed this policy, I didn't realize we had a clause in our dress and appearance policy that excluded any piercings other than on the ear. I'm aware of at least a half dozen female staff members that have piercings on their nose in some way or another, whether it's just a little ring or a little stud. Nothing, in my opinion, that would be particularly inappropriate, but nonetheless, it was abundantly obvious to me that it would be a violation of policy as it's currently written. I try to say, I say a lot that just because a policy or a rule hasn't been followed in the past, that's no reason to not start following the rules right now. That said, we didn't know if that was something that we wanted to look at, and I guess maybe at the cost of some hurt feelings or to maybe rub some staff members the wrong way, if we would want to amend our policy. And I think the committee kind of felt like they wanted input from the whole board on particularly this policy. And if I'm saying anything out of place, please correct me.
So this is not what our current policy says.
So the language in blue is, the language that isn't highlighted, great question. So the language that isn't highlighted is language that matches the KSB sample policy. The language highlighted in blue is language that has been added, custom language that has been added to the policy at some point prior to tonight. Probably on June 14th of 2010 is when the language in blue was added. The language in green is proposed additions. But I don't know that we had a firm consensus at committee level on that language addition. Did I make that clear? So the blue is in policy already.
Okay.
It was custom policy that the board adopted in 2010. So in 2010, the decision was to only allow piercing on the ear by staff members.
I think that's pretty outdated. Why does it hurt?
And then because we were starting to get into issues of that I kind of thought were potentially an area of discrimination because it deals with appearance and those sort of things, I did reach out to the attorneys and try to get their perspective on this. I'm not familiar with this Amanda who emailed me back. She's a paralegal that they've hired to just deal with policy issues. Nonetheless, this should be a complimentary service, the legal advice, because it's a policy issue and we pay for annual policy subscriptions. So I did get that feedback and I was curious. So I did send another follow-up email. It's like specific to piercings, like why can't the board just use its own local norms and values of the community as its guideline for implementing, for saying one type of piercing is acceptable and another type isn't. And the answer that I got back was not, she said it's not terribly conclusive. I mean, it's not a cut and dry issue. Basically, the board would need to be able to articulate the rationale for those distinctions. For example, why is, I think it's the top of the second page, or I'm reading. For example, why is an eyebrow piercing not allowed as opposed to a nose piercing? Why is a large gold hoop allowed and a gauge earring is not? When policies start to permit some forms of expression and not others, it starts to be trickier to articulate a strong rationale. What they found from case law was that issues of safety, health, infection, uniformity, professionalism and uniformity tend to be better grounds for those sort of things. They basically, and then when it comes to the application of the policy, it can be seen as as being applied inconsistently because it would at least be perceived as a discriminatory conduct. So I just wanted to have that information available because I was kind of curious about that.
That was my only concern with our policy, was that I feel like if we're gonna allow one, we need to allow them all. Because I don't feel like we can justify, well, a nose piercing is okay, but an eyebrow piercing or a lip piercing or a gauge earring isn't. I feel that opens us up for,
Who wants
I
to,
agree.
who wants to police that? I mean, you could be alienating a very good teacher just because that's what they choose. I mean,
so that was my only problem is we were just talking about adding only nose piercings. And I think we just need to add them all if we're gonna allow it.
Or we just
or we just
Or just not.
get rid of that.
get rid, because
get
it
rid
was
of
a custom clause to our policy to begin with. I think since no motion has been made, if there was a motion, we could make it just as amended. And then with
Well,
that,
do you want motions for, well, like there's other things in this policy that we're gonna be
okay.
discussing, so. I mean, do you want a motion for each little section that we're doing? I mean, I would make a motion to get rid of this last statement about piercings in our policy. Then do you want, or how do you,
What,
how does the
historic,
policy committee want to look at this?
how we've done it in the past is we've just come to a consensus of how we wanted to amend it, and we've made the motion to approve the policy as amended. But if there's not consensus, then we can get a little more. Or as presented with amendments. Or you could even be more specific, as presented with the piercing paragraph removed from policy 43.
What else on the policy that we want to address?
The only other thing that really was discussed at the committee level was the question of leggings. To what level is leggings appropriate for staff members? I mean, I think we're predominantly talking about female staff, but they said to avoid a Title IX issue, probably be smart to not use that's why I have a line through the word female there. That would be removed. I think there was a general consensus in the committee that leggings in any form are not preferred. Now, we probably, we have a few staff members that will from time to time wear leggings. I feel like for the most, I can't think of a time, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I can't think of a time that a staff member has come to work wearing just leggings without any sort of cover over the midsection of their body. Now, where our policy currently talks about where it talks about jeans, this year I told our paras that we're not gonna police jeans anymore. If they wanna wear jeans and they feel that their job necessitates jeans, we're gonna allow them to wear jeans. Within, that was a back-to-school discussion I had with the paras. I just feel like paras aren't paid well enough to be expected to wear professional dress or pants on a regular basis. And not only that, because of the nature of the work they do, which involves a lot of outside supervision and a lot of getting down on your knees and those sort of things, wearing clothing that's a little more utilitarian, which would be jeans, would be appropriate. That's not what we're discussing. I just wanted to give you a little context for that. I think that the argument could be made too that the same might be said about leggings, but then with leggings, it becomes the issue of it becomes an issue of non-professional appearance, I think.
So are we changing the policy?
Well, the
Because that's not what the policy says.
the clause in green was kind of a suggested way to clarify what is and isn't acceptable.
But at the top, I think is what Jason's talking
Oh,
about, where it
sorry, I'm
says
saying
certified
both.
staff, para, and office staff. So all of this applies to everyone.
Yeah, blue jeans except for athletic and other activity practice.
Right, but if you look down, the building principal may temporarily suspend all or a portion of the dress code, which is the clause I applied in a broad sense for the start of the school year. For this clause right here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then the next paragraph says, to help meet that end, jeans in any color may not be worn except for Fridays.
Mhm.
That's not what you just said though.
It does,
The way I'm getting it, you just said that they can wear jeans anytime they want to.
Paras can.
parents,
Parents
yes,
can.
yes.
Okay.
I guess,
He's meaning that this paragraph right
Paragraph
here
above.
is making it so that it's okay.
I guess I'm just wondering why we're excluding colored jeans, because that's kind of business casual. And when we have university meetings, they're okay with, colored jeans as business casual. And yeah, well, even, red jeans, blue jeans, I mean, not blue, but, they look nice when,
I guess I'm confused. Where does it say that? I don't,
to help meet this, and jeans of any color may not be worn except on Friday, which is considered a dress down day.
yeah, I don't know what that means.
But
That's gotta be-
the paragraph above
That's gotta
that
be
trumps
custom.
it, where Brian says that he can,
So at the beginning of the year, you can say,
I
hey,
did.
staff,
Right.
but all staff,
But
like,
I told teachers that they would still be, other unless it's, like a PE teacher, you don't expect to wear khaki. And that's just, you dress for your role. Just like custodians, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to,
right,
but for our certified people and our office staff, I told them that business casual was still expected except for Fridays, when jeans would be okay.
Okay, my question is, why can't we write a policy of that? Just says straight down the line, this is what we expect, and not say that we can decide later on if we want to change it. Why can't it just be straight down the line, this is what is acceptable, this is what's not acceptable, and then if something needs to be changed, then
Well, we could bring it back to committee and just,
bring back to the board to, because that's confusing to me. I don't know, maybe it's just
well, it would help from my standpoint.
my mush brain from today. I'm just not.
So we want to remove everything with piercing. Is that kind of what the board agrees on? So that way there's not confusion with the committee.
I don't want to remove it.
You want to leave it in there?
Yep, I want to leave it the way it is.
I would go with that just because you can, just having piercings all over somebody's faces can be off-turning.
So are we leaving it as it is with the ear and the nose?
That's, yeah, I mean, that's what I
I'm
was.
saying in blue.
because I was gonna say that was my concern, was as if we allow one, we should allow all of them.
We can
I mean, I
specify which
understand
ones we wanna allow.
earrings has been around forever, so I get that.
We can,
That's kind of a different,
we can say that okay, a nose piercing would be okay, but an eyebrow, lip, all that stuff would be off-turning.
And that's effectively
we
what,
stop.
that's
that's right.
effectively what it
I
says.
feel like you
And-
can't
and
allow
Sure.
one over the other. Because some people think a nose piercing isn't any different than an eyebrow piercing or a lip piercing that's where I feel like that's the hard part is you can't say, well, this one's okay, but for you, that's not okay.
Exactly. And it-
You can put them back in after work.
Yeah.
True.
But does that piercing change the quality of teaching that they're?
I'm not saying that, but.
No, it doesn't.
So why force them to remove that portion
I
of
know,
their
I-
identity?
I've had piercings and I always remove mine,
Okay, that's
just
great
to
for
be a
you,
professional in the workplace.
but that's not, I mean, that may be how it has been in the past, but, you know, I personally don't see an issue with piercings, period. I mean, I would have a second glance if somebody walked in the room with 2 or 3 inch gauges in their ears. I probably would notice that a lot more than somebody having, you know, small gauges in their ears. But I don't see why telling staff members that they can't have their nose pierced, their ears pierced.
I personally don't have a problem with it, but I feel that there is a time and a place to be professional, and I feel like the image that we give as adults to kids and teaching them that there is a time and a place to be professional is way on the wayside anymore, in all honesty. And I'm not saying people that have those aren't professional and can't be professional. But there are a lot of businesses out there that say, I'm okay with your tattoos, but they need to be covered. Or I'm okay with your piercing, but it needs to be, I mean, it's just like going away from wearing dresses and suits and khakis to weddings and funerals is becoming less and less. It's just, I don't know, I just feel like we are losing that.
Standard.
Yes.
I think it also, I mean, piercings, tattoos, any of that, it's not gonna change how a person is and how you should respect them, but I think how you present yourself
Goes a long
may
way.
change how someone gives you respect. I guess.
Agreed.
So we don't have anything in here on tattoos are,
No, tattoos aren't currently addressed.
Tattoos.
so is that?
But is
adding
that another thing? Like if we're gonna
'Cause-
discuss piercings,
Yeah.
then are you gonna say, okay, if you have a tattoo, it has to be covered all the time? Because
We have teachers now who have visible tattoos.
Right, I know, but I'm just,
I mean, are we gonna go back and say, oh, now you have to cover that up?
I don't know, I mean,
I mean,
I guess I feel
Piercings
like.
can be a hazard also. I mean, look at that standpoint. It is used.
Well, see, and
small
that
child,
is an argument
They could grab
that could stand up, I
and they
think,
could rip.
is a legally defensible argument, better
True.
than, I think the board should still have that authority to do that, but that was not the gist of the answer I got from the attorneys, you better have a better reason than just
Appearance.
appearance.
But then if you're gonna say, okay, you can't say, we were discussing gauges, somebody has a big gauge, and I'm like, well, that could be a safety hazard. Then are you gonna say, okay, then no hoops? Because technically that's
That's the same.
similar, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, we have to think about
That's where I think it gets hard, because you're picking and choosing which ones are okay and which ones aren't.
So you're just gonna say, okay, if you have a piercing, it has to be a stud? It's just a single, I don't know, I don't know But I think that's kind of where we're at, and if we exclude one, we kind of need to have a good reason.
I think this would be a good policy that we get some input from our teachers. Just, what in your eyes, I mean, because they want to be professional and they want to be viewed as professionals. So I don't want to tell them what to dress and what to wear. So can we meet with a few of them and come up with a policy we all can live with that reflects what we want for a standard as a school, but also respects them as professionals.
Well, and kind of let them also have their own identity, because for some people, it is how their style, their personality type. But I also think, they need to be professional in gaining that respect from their peers and students.
Well, we might be interested in what we find out too. We might find out that something we thought was, I think just asking the question can go a long ways. That's something I've learned the hard way over the years is that when you dictate information and you don't ask for input, then it's much easier to build consensus and support for an idea if people feel like their voice is heard and developing. And it has to truly be heard. It can't just be a lip service. It has to truly be taken and valued as part of that.
Rather than just selecting a few teachers, can we just do a survey? So
Well, that's
we
what
get
I
all
would,
of
that's
them?
how what I would
Rather
consider
than
probably,
just a few.
not just teachers, but all staff.
Yeah, I think
Just
you
send
need
it
to
out.
include your paras and
But include all of this, what do you consider professional dress? What do you think about,
Yeah.
piercings, tattoos?
Do we
What-
throw
what
hair
image?
color in too then?
I would. That's,
Natural only highlights are acceptable? I mean,
well, I mean,
No.
I don't know if I go, but then again, I guess if you go one direction, you have to go all.
except for Spirit Week. I mean, you might be able to let them do it
School
for that.
colors.
We will, okay, first I want to apologize. I had no idea that those piercings, the nasal piercings were, so that was an oversight. And over the years, it's one of those things, I guess, you just don't pay that much attention to if it doesn't look out of place. So, again, just because a rule hasn't been enforced in the past that's not a good excuse to not enforce it. But I want to make sure I draft something that is truly a reflection of what the board wants. And so that before we, I guess, move on from this issue, it sounds like we definitely want to maybe pull the policy for now. And circle back to it next month. So we want input on all of these things, from leggings to tattoos to
The whole policy.
But
whole kit and
not
caboodle.
just leggings.
But tattoo's not in the policy.
Professional dress
Yeah.
and business casual, what do they consider that?
Yeah, because some people might have a totally different view on what they think is business casual.
Yes. I think our policy is way too specific nitpicky stuff and kind of a little outdated, so let's see what they think. Because I think they want to have a professional image and we need to treat them as professionals. So,
Well, and even reach out to the parents, you know,
Yeah.
what are you comfortable and, you know, like,
'Cause we don't know what they have to do, you know?
maybe they would want to be in business casual. I don't know. I'm just, you know, because they want, look at it as, well, I can gain more respect, or I don't know, just, I just think.
I was always told to wear what you should for the next job that you want. You know, always dress up.
Just for the
Yep.
position you want.
Exactly, there you go, yep, thanks.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so any of the other policies that we're discussing or haven't discussed yet that we want to address before we make a final motion to remove or pull out? The only other one that had any revisions on it was the political activity by staff members.
And that was just a very simple little,
On that one, I would just get rid of where it says facsimile machine. We don't need that. That sounds a little dated. I don't think Steph even has a fax machine in her office anymore. She uses a copy machine.
we still have to be able to receive them.
Do we not have any fax machines in the whole entire school?
Our copy machines are fax machines, yeah, so we have to still be able to receive them, because a lot of the medical people still want to use fax machines. But
And I guess nobody sends them. We threw ours in.
we don't send them, we receive them.
We threw ours in the dumpster.
We could throw ours in.
We use our fax machine all the time. Lord.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you know what, and that was the only people would come to my office and ask if I had one, and that's what they were sending is medical stuff all the time. You are correct, yeah.
So I think if we want to kind of do a little more studying on this policy, then we could probably just have a motion to approve them as presented, and then just read them and not read that one, so we know that we're, and then the committee will take that for next month and with some feedback.
Brian, on the milk expression one, did we ever decide if we were gonna
Oh,
change that or
do you,
not?
Just the amount of time.
I would be okay with just removing a specific amount of
well, I think that's in statute. The
that
year,
you have to have.
you have to, a minimum of a year, I think, is from.
Can we just add a minimum in that sentence?
I don't know. I'm just thinking, again, you don't want to create an inconsistency.
If you have a minimum, you want to set a maximum then also.
Well, that's what that's what it actually is you have to require, or you have to provide it for at least the first year.
So after that, we don't have to.
You don't have to, no.
It has always been a state statute, now it's just been added to Title IX, I think. But our state law had already protected all it had exceeded the requirements of the Title IX updates.
I mean, it's up to them whether they want to.
And we've done this several times over the years when we've had, we've set up like a period in their class period for those teachers that have the opportunity to do the milk, the pumping, during that. And it has to be a time and a designated location that's, I won't have any problem going longer. I can't imagine we deny this request today.
If you had somebody that requested it.
the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that goes back to just building that consensus. You know, it's why we've had a good, I feel like it's why we've had a good track record with negotiations and those sort of things. It's just working with people.
But we don't need to state that then, like.
We could.
At least
We
1
could.
year
Just-
or a minimum of 1 year. Or does, unless otherwise required by law, cover that?
I would say that would cover it, wouldn't it?
I mean, I guess if this is what they recommend, that aligns with,
Well, the attorneys, especially our attorneys, they tend to think less is more. They say when you get in putting in too many words, that you then bind yourself with your own language. But, and that's something I've had to learn over the years too, is because I tend to be a little wordy when I talk and when I write things. And so, but I think if you read that, matter of fact, it does read as if it's for 1 year. So I don't think we're gonna get in trouble for doing it longer than a year, but if you had a concern with staff not being accommodated, then we'd wanna make it longer. If you don't have concerns with that, I think it's okay as written. Sorry if I didn't, I didn't interpret that to mean we wanted to change that right now. I'm sorry about that.
No, I just was curious, since we had to have the discussion of whether or not it would be allowed for longer.
can we just add something about unless otherwise
Arranged,
arranged,
or something,
unless,
unless other arrangements have been made or something
Yeah.
like that.
or required by law, and that keeps that in there too.
Yeah.
So we do want to add language to this policy or leave it as it?
I'm not a parent, but is a year long enough? I don't know.
I would say leave it as is, but that's just me.
I nursed all
As-
mine way past a year.
At a year is when you can switch them to whole milk, and stuff, so that's why it's kind of there, but obviously it's a lot cheaper and better to nurse as long as you can, but, so if we change it, I mean, this is what I wrote, these accommodations will be provided for 1 year after the child's birth unless other arrangements have been made or required by law. Does that need to, I mean,
I like the word, I like just putting, if you want to add something, I like just adding at least 1 year. Because then it gives him, I think.
Okay.
It
these
does
accommodations will
minimum
be
or at
provided
least,
for
you
Yeah.
know.
at least 1 year after the child's birth.
I mean, the likelihood of us ever needing to use it, I don't know, maybe it's not an issue ever, I don't know.
But at least then, if you read the policy, you're not looking at it as, well,
Oh, I have to.
I have to be done by
Yeah.
1 year.
Right.
Because otherwise they're not gonna, like, at least if you say the at least or other arrangements can be made, that opens the door of, okay, this is something that I can ask for an extension of.
I think it certainly communicates that by just saying one, at least.
At least.
So do we have two motions, one to approve the ones that we're not doing anything with, and one?
No, I think we just exclude that. We would just make a motion, if we all agree that as presented would be with the word at least added to that policy. And then we would just make a motion to approve them as presented and just, we would include 4041. We can just, that'll go back to committee for additional review.
Okay. I'll make the motion to approve policy 4042, employee social security numbers, 4043, professional boundaries and appropriate relationships between employees and students, 4045, milk expression, and 4044, political activity by staff members as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mary and a second by Bobby. Is there any further discussion?
What if somebody, takes advantage of that 4045 at the at least 1 year? I mean, are we gonna have a maximum at all? Because if we approve it, at least, we can't probably go back.
I think you can always change policy as long as it's not required by statute. I tend to trust our staff members. I don't think they would take advantage of a situation like that.
I mean, if you're gonna wanna put an ending or something there for that, I mean, what is a reasonable break time? I mean, are you gonna limit to the amount of time that they can take?
I don't know, I'm just asking.
I'm asking, you know,
Yeah.
the same thing. I mean, you know, we can't tell them how long, we can't tell.
It's kind of like telling them how to parent,
Right, exactly.
Right.
I guess.
You have 5 minutes to pump.
Yeah,
And you gotta get it done in that 5 minutes, and then at 1 year, you know, no, I don't think that's what we should be doing. And I don't really think that any of our, honestly, I don't think any of our staff would take advantage of, I don't think they would.
No, I don't either, because
to go past here. Kudos to those that can, but. I don't think it's something that people would look at and say, ooh, I see an opportunity to take advantage of this
that's
specific
that's
thing.
very well said.
I'm gonna use this. I think if they're really that desperate to take advantage of something, they're gonna find
Because it's
something.
not like the most
else.
pleasant thing.
Sorry, guys, but, yeah.
Not something
Sorry.
everybody just jumps at to go do.
I mean, they,
There's a lot of other loopholes that are a little
Exactly, yes.
more lucrative.
I mean, the pumps are much better than they used to be.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, if there is no more discussion, we'll go ahead and we'll vote. Starting with Hope,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Jason, yes, JW,
Yes.
Bobby,
Yes.
and Corey.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next thing is new business. Consider approving the following Education Foundation expenses. $500 for out-of-state college visits, $1,599 for a 3D printer, $3,700 for a new Clavinova piano, $10,000 for auditorium upgrades to include the new control room, $2,973.12 to Mr. Jacobs for endorsement, adding credit reimbursement, $2,000 for drama props and costuming, and $3,084 from Howner Ag for an air compressor. I will make the motion to approve all of those for the Education Foundation.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would maybe just add for Corey's benefit that this is just a technicality for the most part from the board standpoint. It's just written in the Education Foundation bylaws that all their purchases need board approval. So,
Okay.
they talk about it in great detail as
Yeah,
a
there is-
foundation board.
there-
You're not gonna get things scrutinized much more than
Yeah.
foundation meetings.
And we also included kind of a little form or mini grant type thing that the staff have to fill out and then also present back to the foundation of how they're how they actually did use the funds, and hopefully students will come also present at our board meetings and stuff too. So there's quite a bit of accountability that goes with it.
All right, any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. We'll start with Mary.
Yes.
Jason, yes. JW?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
And Hope.
Yes.
Motion carried. Considering accepting the teacher's resignation from Mr. Mark Bloss at the end of the 2024-2025 school year. I will make the motion to accept with regret the resignation from Mr. Mark Bloss at the end of the 2024-2025 school year.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jason, second by Hope. Any discussion?
Other than it's sad to see him go.
I respect that he is giving us a
A lot of time.
Yeah, because it will be a position that is hard to fill, but he is actively
Recruiting. for us,
recruiting.
yes.
He still has many connections with the university, and will definitely want quality applicants because his kids will be going through the program.
I know a pretty good one too. He decided to go on another venture and decided that that's not what he wanted to do, and he wants to go back to ag as
Nice.
a teacher.
It was
So,
posted today, so
okay,
point him in that direction.
I'll let him know.
The Teach in Nebraska website and also on our school website.
Good. Very excited.
I
And
hope we utilize him in the,
And yes, I talked to him the other night, when I did his paperwork for his contest, and he said he, still, if the new teacher is okay, he would love to help with the contest. He has so much knowledge and has built, Pawnee City is known for agronomy and, meats and different contests that, I hope those traditions stay. I see other schools that I work with, when they get a new ag teacher, it's a struggle for the kiddos and stuff, so I hope that the new
Especially after
teacher.
that many years.
Is there any way you can be part of the hiring process?
We have historically not included teachers in interviews, but that's something I certainly would give some thought to.
Yeah, it's been such an
Mm-hmm.
awesome program that he built.
Mhm.
I would like him to have input on the person that takes that to the next step.
I would agree. That was
So,
a good point. All right, with no further discussion, Jason, yes. JW? Bobby?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
Miss Mary?
Yeah.
Before we adjourn, Jason, I do have, there should be information, I would hope, coming soon. I sent an email on Friday and I haven't got back about my evaluation for the November board meeting. They had sent an email last year, they would stand by that price of $500 to do that through KSB school law. I thought the feedback that we got from everyone was that that was favorable, that was the way we want to go. So I would hope that Sherry will be sending that out to you soon.
I have not seen anything come.
No, I haven't I have, it hasn't been finalized yet.
Okay, okay.
Hopefully something will be
I have
done.
not seen anything come to me.
No.
All right. Anyone want to make that live?
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, ladies. Motion by Hope, second by Bobby. JW?
yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Corey?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Jason, yes. We are adjourned.